Hey, what's up, players? Shikara and I back again, and we're going to go ahead and start a new series, a little mini series about how to build your own OSINT / Cyber Threat Intel virtual machine from scratch. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. So there's plenty of VMs out there like Kali Linux and Parrot OS Security that already have a lot of these tools already installed, ready to rock. But it's always good to know how to roll your own, how to create your own, and we're going to get into some different tools. Today's focus will be on recon-ng to start things off because it's pretty popular. And then from there, we'll roll on each video doing something different, like maybe adding Spiderfoot. We'll add Bytez CE for some different documentation part. Maybe we'll do some KeyPass. Who knows? We'll just build this OSINT Cyber Threat Intel platform from scratch using just Ubuntu as our base. I just prefer Ubuntu for this. Seems to be the most package friendly, I guess you could say. It's not without its errors, but we may run across a few of those today, but it's all good. It's a learning experience, right? All right, very cool. So let's go ahead and get rocking and rolling here. Let me bring up my browser. And we're going to be getting into doing recon-ng and installing that from scratch. And this is a brand new install of Ubuntu. I haven't really installed anything on there, so let's put in recon-ng. And let's get the GitHub page for that. All right, so most of the tools we'll be installing are either going to be Python-based, and it's probably going to be something from a GitHub of some sort. So the first thing we're going to need is we're going to need Git. So Git will allow me to just do a Git clone and clone a website onto my actual OS. That's kind of what we want there. So first, let's make a directory with mkdir, and we'll just call it OSINT. And that's where we're going to keep all of our tools. Matter of fact, let's just call it _tools. All right. And let's navigate over there. Very cool. So I don't believe we have Git installed. Let's verify. Okay, so Git's not there. So it tells us right there, nice and handy, this is what we would do to install Git. But before we do that, the sudo thing is recommended that you do not run your OSINT VM as root. However, when you are first installed here and the first user you create when you install Ubuntu, even though if you do an ID, you can see that you don't have any root privileges per se, you do have what's called sudo. And in this particular case, if you do a sudo -l, tac meaning dash, this will tell anybody that is doing enumeration on your account that you can run everything on this operating system as root. So if somebody were to get your credentials for the standard user here, be aware they would be able to run sudo using your credentials and basically run everything as root. So do keep that in mind. However, it is still important that we do sudo and that we make sure that we're not always logged in as root, because again, if somebody breaks into your machine and you're already logged in as root, right, you kind of given them those privileges already. We want to make it difficult for the bad guys. But that being said, sometimes it gets tiring typing in sudo for everything. And sometimes you're opening multiple terminal windows and you always have to keep typing in your sudo pass. So there is use case where if you know you're going to have to run a lot of commands as root, that you would want to just have your terminal be root for that moment, for that time. So what you can do is you can make your own root user. So we've just created Ubuntu with a default account, or not a default account, but just an account. And so I do have sudo privileges. So what you would do is you would say sudo passwd root. Okay, then you put in your the password that you're going to be using, but in this case I don't have to because I did it earlier. Okay, so up here you can see I already added that in, so it's not asking me again. So now it's asking for the password we want for root. So again, make this very difficult. For my purposes, I'm going to be blasting this VM after I'm done anyway, so it doesn't really matter to me. But try to go with a 20-character minimum passphrase if at all possible. All right, excellent. So now we do have a password for root. So if we did need to run anything in this terminal as root, we can just say su, enter, and then put in the password for root, not your sudo password, but the one you just created for root, and now your root. Okay, until you close the window, then you're back to whatever. Now, to go back, SU, which means switch user, we're going to go back to our OSINT. Okay, and then here we can see we're back. But that's just a little side note for you there. All right, let's get down to doing the apt install for Git, because we are going to need that. So let's go ahead and grab that command there. And we'll hit Y, enter. Excellent. Now, another thing we're going to also need is we're going to need pip3, because pip3 is actually the one that's going to be installing a lot of these different, what they call requirement files. So let's go ahead and query how we can install pip3 on Ubuntu. Shouldn't be too difficult. And again, this is pip3 has to do with Python, and it's about loading modules and also installing different programs using pip. So they're telling us we should do an apt-get update before we do any of that, which we will do. And it looks like this is our Huckleberry. This is the one we want right there. So let's come back here and we'll do our sudo apt update. And then we will run that particular one there. I don't think we had any errors installing Git. I didn't check, but I don't think we did. And then we'll install pip, because we're going to be using it to install things for recon-ng, as well as most of the tools we'll be doing. All right, so let's do our pip3. Awesome. So while that's running, bring up another terminal window here real quick. So let's just verify that we do have Git installed with no problems. Excellent. So what we can do is we can cd over to our OSINT folder. And let's do git clone. And we're going to go ahead and clone this GitHub right here. Okay. So we'll pop that in over here. Sweetness. All right. So now we have recon-ng as a folder here. And there's our first tool. We haven't finished installing it, but we'll get to that. Let's check, see what's going on with our pip3 over here. All right, looks like that's all installed, ready to rock and roll. Excellent. So I'm going to get rid of this other terminal window so we don't have too many up here. All right, so we now have, again, we have recon-ng, so let's cd over to that. Now, a lot of times when you're doing these pip installs, the developers who make these tools will include something called the requirements file. And this one will have all the modules that it wants pip3 to install. That way you don't have to kind of guess, right? You can just kind of go ahead and say, these are the ones it's going to ask for, and then I do my pip3 and I ask for the requirement file or the TAC-R, and it will actually just go ahead through the requirement list and install the ones that we see here. So nice and easy and peasy. We love that. So that's what we're going to do next, I believe. Let's go verify, though. We're going to go and install it from source. So let's go check out Recon's wiki just to verify that we're doing it correctly. Always check and make sure you're doing it right. All right, so we have under, let's see, getting started. And again, I like to do an install from source, but you can use Docker as well, and that's fine. Docker's perfectly fine, but I just prefer to just have a folder with all the stuff in it and run it from there. That's just my thing. All right, so pip install TAC-R requirements. Actually, you know what? Before I do that, I've noticed for some reason pip will install things to a particular location, which is odd to me. Let me go back over here for a second. It seems to install to this here. I don't know why. So it doesn't actually install it to something called path. And what I mean by that is if we were to do echo path, essentially what this is it's saying that this distribution will look in all of these folders for any executables. So if I just type in a word of an executable or what have you, it will basically look here and see if it's there and just run it. If it doesn't find it in there, it will say command not found. And then from there, you got issues. Let me turn this updater off. Now, what you normally would do is you would export, if I wanted this, right here, home, this one right here, if I wanted that to be seen in path, I actually have to export this path. Now you can always Google and if you wanted to, and I'll show you how to look for that. So you can say, for instance, how do we want to put that? Install, we'll say add directory, I can type correctly here, to path. All right, how to add directory to path on Linux. This will probably tell me the same thing, export path, something or other. I can't remember top of my head what it is. Okay, here it is. Export path. So what we basically are going to do is we're going to replace this with that path that I showed you there. And I just happen to know this from doing this so many times that pip3 installs to that path. I don't know why. So whenever I use pip3 to install different things, sometimes that won't find it because it's not in path. So unfortunately, that's just the way it is. So what we're going to do is we're going to do an export. Let's see, we'll go back over here. And we'll pop that in there. And let's go back and grab this path that I know it will ask for. And we will put it in there. Now, this will only be good for this window we're in currently. Okay, so if I did an echo $ path, you can see that it indeed did add it. However, on this window, if I did, I think I did echo path, didn't I? If I do echo $ path, you will see that it's not there. Okay, and the reason why is because you actually have to do it into your what is it called? Bash RC file. So you would go back to your home directory and you do ls-tac-la because it is a hidden file, so it does have the dot to it. You would modify this. Okay, so you would say nano bash rc, right? And actually probably have to do sudo here. So sudo nano dot bash rc, and then all the way down to the bottom, right there, all the way to the bottom is where you would actually put that command. So let's come back over here and grab this, and let's put it right here at the bottom, right there. Okay. Now we'll do a Control X, Y, Enter. I'm going to close this window. And I'm going to bring a new one up. So now if I do echo $path, you can see it is now included there by default globally. Okay, so that's how you would do that. And you will notice that when we do this pip3 install, that it will say at the end of it that it installed it to this location, which is a little odd. I got to do a little research and find out why, but yeah, either way. So now let's come back here and we're going to actually go ahead and install the requirement file from recon-ng. So let's verify we're in recon-ng, which we're not. And let's go to our recon-ng folder. So we know we have a requirements file right there. And we're going to pip install all of those things from that requirements file. And we'll let that install for a second. So this is just a quick way. Oh, wow. It actually didn't give me that error. Probably because I actually added it in there by default from the beginning. So excellent. Now, this one, though, is a Python script. Not really, I don't know if it's an executable. So I don't think it will actually run when I type in just write recon-ng. No, you have to do a /recon-ng, I believe. Excellent. There we go. We now have recon-ng ready to rock and roll. Now, the help file that's listed will actually go ahead and help with any type of commands that you're going to do, but later we'll make a DRADIS, what's called a DRADIS CE methodology that will be our cheat sheet, right? But we can open up another window for a second here. Let's go back over here. And we'll navigate over to our folder. And we can say /recon-ng tac-h. And we can see some very small help file, but the ones we're going to be worried about here is the workspace one, but they don't list things like marketplace. Now, I don't know if there's a man page when you install it. Let's verify, see if that's the case. Maybe a manual page. No? Okay. No big deal. You can always go to the website and just read it. But for now, we're just going to mess around, and I'm going to show you some different things on how to use recon-ng. But before we do that, let's go over what they call API keys. Now, if you're going to be doing OSINT and you're going to be doing any type of cyber threat intel, you're going to be pulling data from what they call threat intel feeds. You have paid, you have free, and you know it is reasonable for them to ask for pay on some of them because again, you're hitting a server that they host that they have to actually run and control. So if there's like 30,000 calls to it an hour, then they want to make sure that's kind of rate limited, or they'll give you different functionality, or they'll place limits on it per day if you're using either a free account or a paid account. I recommend highly going out and finding all of the free threat intel feeds that we will see in recon-ng and also Spiderfoot. So those two cover most of the popular API feeds, intelligence feeds. So whatever recon-ng asks for API keys and whatever Spiderfoot asks for. Spiderfoot actually has a lot more. There's about 240 modules there. So all of those, if they're free and you feel like it, then log in, sign up for an account, log in and get the API key. I would then install it, or I'm sorry, not install it. I would record it into KeePass XC offline database so that you're always ready to be able to go ahead and put those API keys in because they're going to ask for them here. So let's take a look here. If we go over here to our wiki, actually I was already on the wiki, wasn't I? So if we look at our wiki and we go to API keys right here, well, okay, that doesn't really give me much help, does it? Is that all they have? Must be all they have. So they don't really have a ton, but these are examples of some. So like Bing, for instance, if I was going to automate looking up contacts using Bing, I would need an API key so I can actually use that within this tool. Same with built with or census. So I've actually got all these different keys and I'll put them in here shortly. But let me show you kind of how it works so you can actually get those rocked out first. So basically what you want to start off with first is you want to see what they're asking for that do require API keys. So you say keys list. I think that's right. Keys list, or is it key? I'm trying to think now. Let me get my, I have a little cheat sheet. Now it should be, yeah, it should be just keys list. Let's see. Let's see if this is working properly here. Okay, so show modules. Let's try just keys. Okay, so keys list. It is there. Okay, that's a little odd. Is it keys list all? All right, this will have to go ahead and see the page, apparently, because I thought that was what it was. So we'll look up recon-ng keys list. Is it API keys list? That must be. Okay, let's verify here. Let's see if we can find something that's fairly recent. Okay, let's try this. Let's try this one here. All right, we're looking just for one about keys, first launch, yes, modules, whatever. Oh, you know what? I bet I have to install everything from the marketplace first. Okay, yeah, so it is keys list. I am correct there. So maybe we actually have to install everything from the marketplace first. All right, so in the newer version, this newer version of recon-ng 5, I think it is, yeah, 5.1.12. They actually changed to something they call a marketplace, and all of the actual modules are there, and you would have to install them. Now, the easy way to just kind of get everything all from the beginning is to just do the marketplace install all. Now, I have a side cheat sheet that I use because I don't like typing, so we'll do that. So we're going to go ahead and install all of them, and I bet after this we'll be able to add or take a look at the list of keys. It's more than likely what the issue is. So you can see there's a ton of different things here. We got some recon domains, we got some census. Hacker Target's a good one. Some of these don't need API keys, like Hacker Target, for example, doesn't need API keys. But yeah, some reporting. So you notice right here, see all this red? You're probably thinking, whoa, jeez. Well, these mean that you don't actually have any API keys listed, and that's fine. So now that we've done that, I bet keys list will work now. Excellent. So you can see here that we have Binary Edge, Bing, Built With, Census IO, Flickr, Full Contact, all these different ones here. So I actually do have quite a few of these actually. So I would start your free account APIs creation with this list. And then when we do the Spiderfoot video, we'll look at more because there is more than what we see here. So this is what I would start with. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause for a second, and I'm actually going to add my API keys in, but I don't want you guys to see them. So I'm just going to take it offline and do it. But let me show you how you would add it in. So essentially, if I had a Bing one, for instance, you have to take the exact name, and this is what you have to do. You have to say keys, add the name of it, and then the API key right there, okay? So I'm going to pause for a second, pause for the cause here, and we're going to go ahead and I'm going to add in all of my APIs that I have stored in my KeyPass, and then we'll come back and we'll be able to hopefully utilize some of these sources and do a little recon on some different targets. Okay? All right, I'll be back in a second. All right, got everything added in, ready to rock and roll. I scrolled all the way down here so you guys don't peep all my API keys. We don't want any of that. So I guess what we can do is we can just start off now that we have all the actual marketplace ones installed, is we can actually go ahead and see how do we actually search for information on a particular module that was in the marketplace. A common one I like to use is Hacker Target to give me some subdomains. So what you can do to just get information about some module within that marketplace is you can go ahead and type in marketplace info and then the name of whatever the module is. So there you can go ahead and hit enter, and it will tell you the information about it. It tells you here specifically if it needs API keys, if it has any types of dependencies, and if it's installed or not in this case here. Now you can also do, I believe, show modules. Let's see, show, is that not a thing anymore? I guess it's not. That's more for the dashboard, I believe, with the show. But either way. But you can do it with any of these particular tools, like, say, for instance, you want to look up the, I don't know, SPICE one or whatever. That one there tells me that there is a required key right there, Spice API. And I've already added mine in for that particular one, but it tells you what it's for, uses it to discover subdomains. So we would put in whatever the actual host is for that particular one and use that. Now, the variety of different things that you can do with the marketplace, and we won't run them all, but I'll just paste it in here for a second. These are all the different things that you can do with the marketplace module part of it. You can do an install, you can remove one, you can do an info, refresh, and you can also search. So, for example, if I wanted to search for anything related to DNS, I can go ahead and search, and it tells me that there is a couple different modules, specifically these two, that have the word DNS in them. Okay, so that's very handy to be able to determine which one that you actually want to use when you actually want to load a module for a specific purpose. So it's always good to go ahead and do that. Now, before you start doing anything at all, what you should do is create a workspace. Now, if I just type in workspaces, plural, it's going to give me the list of what I can actually do with these. And here I can create, I can list, I can load, I can remove, and I would give it a name. And by default, the one I do have, if you do a list, is just the default. So right now we're tied into the default one that we actually have, which is just the default one. But when you do a new engagement, try to make a workspace specifically named for whatever that engagement is. Okay, so for example, if I want, I can say workspaces create, and we'll do our obligatory Leroy Jenkins. So we'll add Jenkins in there and create that. It's just basically telling me I don't have whatever keys, but you'll see that it popped me into Leroy Jenkins. Now if I do workplaces list, you'll see now I have Leroy Jenkins listed here as well. And again, if I just do workspaces by itself, gives me a help for what I need, right? So in this case, if I want to go back to the default one, I would then just say workspaces, load default, like that. Okay, now it puts me back in the default one. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump on back to our Leroy Jenkins one. All right, so now we're in Leroy Jenkins in this particular case, and the reason it's showing all these red, these are API keys that I don't actually have, so they just show up as, hey, you don't have them. And that's okay, no big deal. All right, so that is basically how you're gonna go ahead and make your workspace for it. Now, you can also store things inside of the actual, what they call dashboard. So for example, if I were to just show the dashboard currently, there's probably nothing there, right? Because I don't actually have, in this case, oh, actually, you know what? I think it's just dashboard show. Yeah, no record of activity. So I actually haven't added anything, but I can do that by adding, for instance, if I want to add in a domain of some sort that I want to actually use as a target, like a seed, I guess you could say like seed data, I can go ahead and insert into my database companies, okay? So in that case, I can say DB, insert companies, and then I can put a company here. I'll just call it, I don't know, let's see. Last time I did a video, I think we did Pepsi. They're a big company, plus I was drinking Pepsi at the time, so sure, let's do Pepsi. So we'll say Pepsi, description, good drinking, I guess, sure. And notes, I don't have any notes. Boom. Okay, so now that's actually in the database itself. Now I don't believe it's going to add it here to this, but if I do show companies, I'll see it there listed. Okay, and we will see more things that populate that dashboard show as we go along in our little adventure here. Okay, so that's essentially how you can add those in. Now let's go ahead and do a quick load of a module, and we'll go ahead and test. I don't know. Let's try to get subdomains for Pepsi.com. Sounds good. Now we can do the load module, or modules load actually is the new way they do it. So if you were used to the old way of recon-ng, they've changed it around a little bit. Now we don't use the word use. Load is not used first. You have to do module load, right? And then do, for instance, we'll do hacker target. Now, I don't know the actual name of it, so I'll just say marketplace search hacker, see, hacker target. No, it doesn't do tab complete. Here we go. So it's called recon domains host. There it is. So that's the module. So let's grab this. And we're going to say modules, if I can type it in correctly. I should be copying and pasting this because I suck at typing. There we go. Modules load domains host hacker target. Okay. So now if we type in the word info, we can see here, it gives us some information about what's actually needed for this. Now, the thing that is required is the source. Well, that's pretty common sense, right? I can't really do anything with it unless I actually give it some target domain to hit. In this case, we'll just go with Pepsi.com. Sounds good. To do the actual options portion of it, you would start with the word options. Now, this is a little different than the older version that used to be there, because I think it was just set source equals something. But now if you look at options here, you can see that we'll have to do options set and then source from there. So we have to say options set source, and we'll say Pepsi.com. Okay, so now if we do our info again, we can see current value is Pepsi.com. Now there's some other options you can do down here, but we're not really concerned about any of these for right now. What we want to do is run this. Let's see what we see. Don't forget we're in Leroy Jenkins, and what we do next is going to start populating fields within the dashboard. So let's type in run and let it do its thing. Wow, that's pretty quick. 21 new hosts found. Excellent. So we see here that for some reason it's not giving me the latitude and longitude. I'll have to look in to see why that is, but no big deal. So we can see all kinds of different subdomains, right? So we have our promo1, promo2.pepsi.com, fbfoodservice.pepsi.com. Pretty cool. So now I think we can do a show hosts. Is it show hosts? I think it is. Yes. So if we do a show host, we can see that Hacker Target did find all of these particular ones here, which is pretty awesome. Now, if I want to add to this with more subdomains, I can use another tool to try to get that information as well. So, for instance, now when I'm in this current view, I'm in Hacker Target right now. So if I were to try let's see. Let me just hit my up arrow. So if I were to do a marketplace search for, I don't know, Hunter, I think is 1. See how it says market invalid command? That's because I'm in the Hacker Target module. I actually have to type in back to get back to the original where I'm at, then do my search, then it works. So keep that in mind that if you're in this section that you have to go hit back. All right, so we have domains and contacts. So this may give us actually some context, but I don't really want that. I want to try to get more subdomains. Let's look for spice. There we go. Let's try this one. So let's go ahead and load this one. Again, we're going to use the word modules load. Okay, and then we do our info, and we can see here limit. You can set the limit of number of results returned, which is good. And then you can set the source again on this one. But don't forget, it's got to do options, set source. Now, it is not case sensitive on the word source. Keep that in mind. So we will say Pepsi.com. And if it finds anything additional, it'll add it to our list. And it didn't find anything. Well, that's no good. Let me just look for domains here, or just subdomains. Let me see if there's another. That obviously didn't give me much information. So let's do a marketplace search for, we'll say subdomains. And we'll see what other sources will do that for us. Okay, binary edge may be pretty good. Let's try that. Census, for some reason, doesn't work well for me in this. I don't know why it is. Works great in the harvester, but I don't know. It doesn't seem to really give me much here. So we're going to go ahead and load this one. So we'll say modules load that one. And I'm assuming it's going to ask again for the source. Sure. So we'll say again Pepsi.com. And we'll run it and see if it gives us any information. Hopefully it gives us more. Or maybe the same stuff that we got with Hacker Target, who knows. But so this one's using an actual API key that I have, so I have a limit to what I have. So it may give me some limited results, or it may take a little while because it may not be full speed. You know, maybe rate limited quite a bit. But we'll see what happens from there. All right, so that is taking a while here. So while it's running, just to keep things rocking and rolling, we'll get 2 instances of this bad boy going. What was it called? Recon-ng. All right. So while that's running, we'll get 2 things going at once so we can go over some other things while that's running. So that's basically how you would run and load a module. Now again, you can just type in the word modules and it will give you a list of what you can do with this. So you can load, reload, or search. So again, I can say modules search, and that can also be subdomain, right? And it tells me that's the one right there for the modules, or just domain be good. We can do that as well. That gives us quite a few, right? So this is a way that you can actually see, you know, make it real focused on what you actually want for it here. So yeah, good stuff on that there. Let's see what's going on with this bad boy over here. Still running? Okay. So it's taking its sweet old time, but let's see what we have so far. Do we have anything populating our dashboard yet? No record of activity. Fine, that's all good. We'll get into that here in just a little bit. All right, now another thing you can do when you're doing options is you can actually set verbosity on options as well. And that depends on what the module is. It may give you the ability to set that. So it doesn't have to just be source, right? Whatever it tells you in the module that you can set, you can set. So just keep that in mind. It's not always just source, okay? Now, once you've actually populated your workspace with all kinds of different things, you can then show the different pieces of it, like show domains. So for example, we've done some subdomain stuff already. So we can say show domains, no data returns. So we can say show hosts, should be the ones that, really? Oh, you know what? I'm in the wrong workspace. Leroy Jenkins. There we go. Let's try it again. So I would say show domains, no data, show hosts. Okay, shows the hacker target one. So that tells me that this is not finished yet. Nope, still running. Okay. And I don't think we have done like credentials or anything like that yet, but that will show up hopefully in there as well. Now you can actually add domains that you know specifically in there as well if you'd like. And to do that, you would use your DB command. So if you do DB, you'll notice you can do delete, insert, notes, query, and schema. So I can add in, I can say DB insert domains, and I can put in, I don't know, chucknorris.com. Sounds good? Oops. Let's see, is it domain? Domains, probably DB insert domains. Value length. Make sure I'm typing that in correct. DB. Interesting. Should be correct. Let me just verify. Oh, you know what? I forgot. When you're doing the DB insert command, lost my mind for a second there, you don't actually type it in the command itself. Once you hit enter, it will then ask you for the information. That's right. So I'll say chucknorris.com. Notes. Chuck Norris does not do push-ups. He pushes down the world. Yeah. All right. So now we can do our show domains. If I can type correctly here. Now we can do our show domains, and we should see old Chuck Norris there. Very cool stuff, right? And from the last one, the show domains would have probably worked if, I think we had it in the default one. We actually added one in for that. All right, let's go back and see what's going on with this binary edge. Looks like we have some problems running. Interesting. I'm trying to populate this with more sources. And again, this is something I do run into, and I'm not really sure why. It seems to be working better in the harvester. I don't know why, but either way, let's try and look and see. Whoops, I got to go back. And let's look for more. How about threat crowd? Let's see if we can do a threat crowd. I don't have much luck with census, so I'm just going to kind of skip that one. Modules load. And then we'll take a look at the info. Okay, options, set source, Pepsi.com, and run. Let's see what we get. All right, we got a few things here. Let's see. So now that we actually have two different one's given us information. This may have found ones that the other one didn't, and it looks like it did. It actually found quite a few there. That's pretty awesome. How many did it find altogether? 52. Interesting. 35 new. Now notice what it says there. 35 new. That means that it's smart enough, the tool, to determine which ones are going to be duplicates, which is pretty awesome. So now if we do a show hosts, we should see not only the hacker target ones, but we should also see the threat crowd ones as well. Now, threat crowd one doesn't seem to pull any IP address. That's kind of interesting. But we're starting to develop a pretty good list here of different domains that we're using, or I'm sorry, different hosts that we can actually go ahead and target in this particular case, which is pretty awesome. And you can also start to try to go for credentials as well. So let's take a look here and let's try modules, search credentials. Let's see what we have here. Now actually, let's do this. Let's go back and we'll search for contacts first. There we go. All right, cool. So let's see. Hunter.io is pretty good for finding contacts. Let's try that one there. So we want to see if there's any contact email addresses from Pepsi.com. And I don't have any problem with Pepsi, by the way. So don't hate on me. I love me some Pepsi. Just one I had come up with. All right, so let's go ahead and load that. So modules load. Hunter.io. This one you do have to have an API key for. All right, so we see here how we got more options to add. So this is where you can say options set count, right? So it doesn't have to just be source in this case here. So you only get 10 results with your free account, so that's what it's going to default to. So we're going to say options. That's interesting how it notes that I have the free account API key. But we'll go ahead and set source, Pepsi.com domain, and we'll see if we can get any contacts for that. A good tool for this is the Harvester using the Intel X one, but we'll get into that later. All right, let's run. Excellent. So we found 84 people. Wait a minute. Okay, 10 total, 10 new. So I guess we didn't get everything, obviously, with my free Hunter.io one, but we did get 10. So now we should be able to go ahead and say show contacts. Excellent. Look at that. Pretty cool. Starting to develop a pretty good list here in our database. So we got some users here, Brandy, Julian, Regina, Dennis, whoever these are. And yeah, pretty good stuff. Now, what we could do is, let's see. Let me, well, I don't know if I want to do that. That's probably not nice to do. What I was thinking about doing is going ahead and making a list of these and checking them against the Have I Been Pwned database. So to do that, you would then go, so you'd say back, and you would say modules, search, Have I Been Pwned? So you would look, if you wanted to see if any of the email addresses were actually in a data breach. So you can say modules load. Now you can either put in for the source, you can put in just a name, or you can put a file in, a local file as well. So what I've done in the past is I've got a file of different names that I found from an email address, a list of them, and I just ran it through and it gave me a list. Now, I won't use the Pepsi ones because even though it is public information, I still don't, I don't want to output it here on my video. So I'll just use my own dummy account that I use for all my gaming stuff that's been pwned like 20 times. And I've changed my password on it 20 times. So I'll just use my Blues Preacher one. So I'll say options, set source. And I don't care if you see this one because, again, I've changed it to a 30-character passphrase. You ain't cracking that bad boy. But either way, it was still in breaches because I like to do some Skyrim stuff. So there was the Skyrim Nexus Mods one. There was Dropbox. There's a few of them. So I'll do the bluespreacher@gmail.com as the source. But what you would do is you would put in your company list of emails instead. But in this case, I'll just run it as this, just so you can see what it does. So I'll say run. And using the API key that I have, you can only do this if you have the API key. So you can see that I've actually had 20 total all together. And it did add me as a contact. So now if I did show contacts, even though I didn't really want it in this list, I am in there now. Now I'll take, this will be a good opportunity to talk about this. Well, that's kind of weird format in there. I can't see what the row number is for that. 1, 2, 3. I guess that's 11. Sure, we'll go with it. But anyways, I want to show you that in just a second. But let me come back up here, and here we go. So you can see the details are listed here. Now, it doesn't enrich the data like you would do in Maltego, where it doesn't tell me what types of data was breached. Like it'll say, like if you enrich it in Maltego using Have I Been Pwned, it will then tell you if it was credentials, passwords, if it was emails, social security number. It doesn't give me that enrichment here, but that's fine. But you can see I've been pwned. Well, I haven't been pwned, but I've been in a bunch of lists. I don't even know what half of these are now that I'm looking at them. Reverb Nation, definitely, because that's my music account. So yes, definitely there. But again, I've changed it, 30 character passphrase. So yeah, you can see how handy this is to determine if somebody's been in a breach. Now, going back to this, and I see like this one here. So by mistake, let's say I added somebody to my contacts that I've listed in here, and I don't want that. I can then just do a db delete, and what it will do is ask for the actual number of the row, in this case being 11. Right? So I'll say db 11. Maybe is that? See, that's what I can't tell. I don't know what this O is. Oh no, that's hunter.io. So that's correct. Let's see. Is that not the correct table number? Should be the row, right? Invalid table name. Oh, I'm sorry. DB contacts. There we go. That should, I think, do it. Usage, okay, db delete. And then the table and the row ID. Okay, so I had the wrong order. So db delete, contacts, and row 11. Thanks. Oh, there we go. So now if I do my show contacts, I should be out of there. Yep. I am no longer there, right? So that's how you can do it if you did screw up and you decided, hey, you know, I want to get rid of this. Now you can also get rid of a range. So I can say like 6 through 10. So to do that, you would do db delete contacts, and then you would say 6 through 10 like that, or 6-10. Hit enter. 5 rows affected. See? And then do show contacts, and you can see it did get rid of those. So you can do full sections as well to delete them out of the database. So it's pretty handy to be able to do all that kind of stuff within this tool here. So you can see it's quite full. Again, it's kind of hit or miss what you get for information from some of these, because you know some of them, depending on the API keys they have. Oops, let me see. Is it show modules? Show host. We got host, domains, credentials, and I'm trying to remember. I thought there was a dashboard. Let me see. Maybe I'm incorrect. Okay, there it is. Oh, so just dashboard. So here, the dashboard one. So what I did is I typed in dashboard, and I can see here, right here. So it says I've got domains, I've got companies, and I've got hosts, and I've got contacts, and I've got credentials. So if you're ever curious before you do your show command, what has actually populated in your actual database, just type in dashboard, and it will show you the ones. So I know I do have companies in there. I know I do have credentials. So now I can just type in show, and it is not case sensitive. So I can say show companies, doggone it, companies, and it will show it right there. Okay. So in this particular case, that's pretty cool to be able to have that there. Now, if it did find any leaks, if it did find any ports, it would there, any vulnerabilities, and I typically would see that with something like maybe Threat Miner, Threat Crowd, things like that, would look for vulnerabilities for that. So pretty cool stuff. And those ones, I don't know if they actually have it broken down into threat section. Let's see. So threat miner, I think threat crowd. Let me look and see what kind of information they have on this. So I can say, I think it's modules info. Oh, I'm sorry, marketplace. That's the one. Marketplace info. There we go. Let's see, passive DNS API. Okay, so it's just discovering hosts and subdomains. So this is not looking up vulnerabilities. Okay, no big deal. But either way, this is recon-ng. I hope you guys enjoyed that there. We did quite a bit of things with it and had a couple mishaps here and there, but we figured it out real quick. So as we go on the series here, this will be part 1 of creating our OSINT / Cyber Threat Intel VM. I think for the next one, we'll go into maybe Spiderfoot or maybe the Dratus Community Edition one, or maybe even the Harvester, which is the one I use the most. And then we'll tear it up from there. So this is just a basic usage of it. Now there is more advanced things you can do. You can create your own modules and script them, but that's beyond the scope of what we're trying to do here. I just wanted to get it installed and get this bad boy rocking and show you kind of the basics of how to use it and make sure that we have an OSINT folder started. And our first tool is recon-ng. And the next one we'll do probably will be Spiderfoot or the Harvester. And then we'll rock it from there and do some Tor and dark web and all kinds of cool stuff for this particular little mini series, okay? So I hope you guys enjoy it. Make sure you guys subscribe to the video, to the channel there on the YouTube. And if you guys dig it, share it with everybody else and say, hey, check these videos out. These are pretty sweet. Until next time, peace out, players.